Hi there, welcome back to Tiff Reads Books. I'm Tiff, I read books and then I talk to you about them. February is here. Well, as of the time you watch this. Today's technically January 31st, but I have plans and I have done everything I planned to do, well, most of everything I planned to do in January, so we are ready to start February and I'm kind of excited. The first thing, because I have categories of things that I'm planning to read. I am a mood reader. None of this is guaranteed, but I have lots of options, so hopefully that helps. One of the things, I have 2 audiobooks that I'm going to read just for the sake of reading. So the first one is I am going to do the second book in Kushiel's Legacy, which I believe is called Kushiel's Chosen. The first was Kushiel's Dart. I believe the second was Kushiel's Chosen. I'm going to do it through audio. And I'm really excited. This is the sequel to a trilogy that I started reading because my boyfriend absolutely loves and begged me to read it. And after I saw a few other people talk about it, they gave me more information than he gave me. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I will like that. And good news, I actually did. We're continuing, I believe, in the second one to follow Phaedra, and she has wrapped up her initial storyline in the first book where she's kind of come into her own. She knows who she is. She's much more of an adult now. And she's been given some power, and I can't really talk about it too much without spoiling the first book. So we're just going to continue to follow Phaedra. I may talk about this at length at some other point in time, because for a debut fantasy from 2010, this story is surprisingly 2001, surprisingly well thought out. It's so well researched. Comparing that to a lot of the debut fantasies that I've read this year and last year, I'm just it's just such a different level of research and world building, and it's just kind of blows me away. And then the fact that it is so unexpectedly queer. Phaedra is essentially bisexual. It's not ever talked about in that term, but the person that she is most attracted to in this world is a woman who also happens to be the villain. So if you like that, that is there. So anyway, moving on from that book that surprised me in a lot of ways that I ended up really loving. So the next book I'm going to read is, I always do a Stephen King reread through audio, and I haven't decided yet, and I think the first one that popped into my head is Needful Things, so I'm gonna probably do that one. I always use my Audible credit every month to do it, and then I maybe read a couple of other Stephen Kings that are rereads through the Libby app. So those are my 2 major ones. I guess we'll do Needful Things, so, because I just decided. Either that or Insomnia. We'll see which one sparks the most joy. So those are the 2 things that I'm doing basically just for me, along with, I have 2 library books left from my haul. So I'll be reading The Ballad of Black Tom, which is a retelling of something Red Hook. Let me see if I have that story. Hold on. Okay, I'm not sure exactly which one this is a retelling of, but it is a retelling of one of the H.P. Lovecraft stories, which is heavily racist, as is most of his stories. So I picked up this at a Goodwill forever ago. Somebody pre-tabbed it with all the stories marked, and I went in and picked it up for 50 cents. My Goodwills near me do no longer sell books for that cheap. You have to buy them online now. They don't have any in the store that aren't ripped to shreds already. And now the cheapest Goodwill book is $8. So anyway, that doesn't matter. This is a retelling that actually is not racist and does a little bit more with race in a more positive kind of clapbacky light to my understanding. So looking forward to this. I've heard really good things from the people who've read it. The next one I want to read is one I haven't heard about before, Organ Meats, and this just sounds so fever dreamy weird. This is about a couple of girls who discover that they're descended from dog-headed women and women-headed dogs. And then one of them slips into a coma and the other one has to go and harvest organs from this dream world to save her. And it is described as filled with ghosts and bodily entrails and visceral lore. This is a story about the horror and beauty of intimacy. And one of the reviews said that this was the weirdest book that person that reviewed it would read all year, and I was like, sold. So it's supposed to be written in kind of poetic and lyrical type of style, which is something that either really works for me or really doesn't, so I'm keen to see how this one works. But I'm excited because this cover, it just jumped out at me at the library, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. So Those are two that I will probably start with this month. Then everything else is for some sort of challenge. So here's where here's where things get a little messy. So the first thing that I picked up as a challenge is I got my brother back in December to agree to doing a buddy read with me every quarter. My brother has a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old, and he runs a mushroom farm. He is the primary caregiver for his child and runs this farm, and he is incredibly busy. So 4 books a year are a lot for him, but he was like, yes, I want to start reading more again. I miss reading and I miss taking some time to do something for myself. So I let him pick the first book, and he picked Michael Crichton's Congo. So my brother, one of the first books that he read and absolutely loved when he was younger, and I was trying to get him into reading, was Jurassic Park. And so then he started picking up Michael Crichton stuff, and he has not read this one, nor have I. I tried Jurassic Park when I was a teenager. When I got my brother to read it, he was like, you need to read this. And I tried to read it, and I was like, there's so much science in there. And he was like, you're a scientist. You're going to be a scientist. Why are you upset about the science? I was like, because I do it all the time. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it for fun. So anyway, now I'm about the point where I can probably do it for fun. So we're going to try Congo. Neither of us have read this, but we both have like very fever dreamy, weird / nightmare type memories of watching the movie when we were far too young. My brother was probably 4 and I was probably 9, or he was like 3.5 and I was 8, somewhere around there when we watched this movie. And we both have very like horrific memories of distorted faced gorillas. So we're gonna read Congo. I'm excited. I'm gonna start this tonight, actually. Okay, this is going to be actually its own video. A review of this will be up in March, where we sit and drink a beer, which I'm gonna pick, and we talk about it. So it's gonna be beer, a book, and a bro. Okay, the second one is my read along. If you've seen my videos, I am doing a long drawn out read along of Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, and Nona the Ninth. We are starting with Gideon. We are into Act 1. So this week I will be reading Act 2. You'll get the video in a couple of weeks, and then we'll be continuing. So this will be finished up by March. So February and March I will be reading this. I am highlighting and tabbing, and you can see all of my tabs for Act 1. I have a mass amount of highlights so that I can categorize the different things that I want to talk about. It is taking me a very long time, but it's very fun. So keep an eye out for those videos if you are interested. The very last group thing I am doing is I'm reading Jade City with Greta's Little Library on Instagram. She is doing a buddy read in the month of February for this. This has been on my TBR for about a year since I first heard about it, and I have been really wanting to read it. So someone introducing a buddy read for this very big book. This is a 460 page book. 490. Oh, damn it. I was hoping to use this. I'm doing it. We'll get to it. Okay, anyway. This is like a 490 page book. So I have been kind of putting it off. This is a trilogy as well, but I have heard like a lot of good things. I've heard some really bad things, but then I was watching A Little Bit Mads, and she was like, this book is so good for politics in fantasy. And I was like, politics? Okay, maybe I won't drop it from my TBR. And she was like, please do not drop this from your TBR, because I commented and I was like, oh, I'd heard some really bad things about how it was actually really boring and wasn't as good as it was hyped up to be. And I was like, those are the reviews that I was starting to see. And she was like, no, those reviews are wrong. Please read this book. So I'm going to read this book. So I had to order this. My library is like 17 weeks out. I was hoping to just borrow it because I'm trying to not, I don't like buying books if I don't know I'm going to like them. So I bought this used as well. So I bought this one used. Okay. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or you have seen my link down below, I have an Instagram, a bookstagram that I run with my best friend. We are called the Otter Readers because she has called me her significant otter for the longest time. So ever since that meme started going around in like 2008 about otters holding hands and this being my significant otter, she has since called me that. So we are doing a challenge so that she can clean out her TBR of her owned books because she buys books more often than I do. And she was like, I need to start reading my books. And I was like, okay, let's do a challenge where read 6 books off of the books that you own before you buy anything else. So that's part of why I was trying not to buy things, but I was like, well, every time I buy something, it just resets. So I have 6 books to read this month. And when we agreed to do this, I was like, oh, perfect. I actually have 6 books that I have not read yet that I own. I had forgotten about that H.P. Lovecraft, that I actually have 7 books that I own. So, this will mean starting with the books that I did not finish for my 10 before the end, which works for me because I wanted to finish them. The one I'm going to start with, this will be my top priority, is Ursula K. Le Guin's The Left Hand of Darkness, because I already got 50 pages into this. This is considered like one of the top sci-fi writers. Ursula K. Le Guin is like, she is like the queen of classic sci-fi. So this book deals a lot with gender and gender expression and politics, which I was enjoying. It's just very detailed and very heavy. So like in the style of writing that it is, it's that very classic fantasy sci-fi type writing where we get a lot of detailed world building, which I do love, but it's the way that it's distributed to us. But I think after reading Kushiel's Dart, which is very much that style, and enjoying it, it should be a little easier for me to slip into this. Have Shadow and Bone. So I picked this one up last year and been wanting to read it. I have heard so much good stuff about Leigh Bardugo. Everybody talks about how amazing she is. I have never read a single one of her books. Found this one and decided to pick it up, especially because a friend of mine has been trying to get me to watch the show, and I was like, well, let's read the book first. So this is on my priorities. Then I have The Princess Bride. I've wanted to read it for a long time. I am very confused because this book is almost 400 pages. This book is almost 400 pages, but it does have a bonus story in it. So how long is that? So that bonus story is 50 pages is all it is. So this is a 350 page book, but whenever I look at the audiobook, it says it's like a 4-hour audiobook. Most 4-hour audiobooks are around the 200 page mark. So I'm really confused. So I will be reading this one. This is the 25th anniversary edition, and it has this really cool map in it. And the great thing is this is, I believe this year, this was published in 1994, I believe. So this is, or was it published in 93? Published in 73, then this is the 25th year anniversary, which was 1998, and then last year would have been 25 years since 1998. So I'm 1 year behind to be reading on the 50th, which is sad, but it's fine. Last one that I picked up is The Once and Future King, and I found this really old copy for, as you can see, $1. And this didn't look very big, and then I picked it up and I was like, why is this heavy? This is almost 700 pages. This is 635 pages. But this is supposed to be one of the best retellings of King Arthur, and I was on like a King Arthur kick after I read Morgan Is My Name. I read Morgan Is My Name because it, side tangent real quick, I read Morgan Is My Name because it was pitched as the feminist King Arthur retelling, and I was like, hold on, that rings a bell from high school when everyone was like, you need to read the quintessential feminist King Arthur telling, which is The Mists of Avalon, written by Marion Zimmer Bradley. And I was like, okay, so I listened to the Sophie Keach one, and then I was like, all right, let's compare that with The Mists of Avalon. So I read the Mist of Avalon is divided into 4 parts within the book. So I read the first part, which matches up with Morgan Is My Name roughly to the same age, where Morgan Le Fay is the same age in both stories at the end. And I have to say, neither of them were very feminist. And I have a whole bunch of thoughts about that. But I did like The Mists of Avalon, which the first part is called The Mistress of Magic. I liked that part better because it was more a pagan retelling of King Arthur than it was a feminine retelling of King Arthur. Yes, we are following the story from the women's eyes, but the women's are just as judgy, backstabby, and like misogynistic as the men in the story. So just because misogynistic shit comes out of a woman's mouth doesn't mean it's no longer doesn't mean it's feminist. So, and then I learned some really weird ass things about Marion Zimmer Bradley. So I have thoughts about those. Maybe I'll have to talk about them after I read The Once and Future King, which basically, the reason I brought that up is The Mist of Avalon is supposed to essentially follow really closely to The Once and Future King, but told from Morgan Le Fay's perspective. So I will find out if that is actually true. And then maybe I will finish The Mists of Avalon. Okay, so that's the last of my 10 before the end. But that's not 6 books, you might say. I got you. In December, I won a giveaway for Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I am now concerned about this because so many people had said how this was actually just really, really good and it was cozy and they loved it. And I was like, okay, I like a lot of the things that those people like that they're talking about. The people that were saying they liked it, I like a lot of similar things. And then I watched a few other YouTubers who I also really align with, and they were like, this book sucks, I'm DNFing it. I'm like, shite. So we will see if I like this or not. So I'm going to be trying this. This is essentially a romantasy, but it's supposed to have this academic background, and I thought that was maybe what I would like about it, but I have since heard some things that maybe I won't like that part of it. So I'll be trying this. The very last thing. My boyfriend's sister decided to get me a Christmas gift, and she didn't know what to get me, so she got me a book. She didn't know what I read. She didn't even know if I read. So she just went and she was like, she asked like, what's the most popular fantasy book that was selling? And so I have this. I have never ever read Cassandra Clare. I was tempted to try this considering it has so mixed reviews. I am scared. I'm scared because everything that I have heard about this author's writing style, I don't think that I will like it. But it was given to me. And I have been joking because, oh, the plant light's off. I've been joking because Miss Cassandra Clare is going to be at the Emerald City Comic Con, and I was joking about, I told my boyfriend, I was like, oh, I could take it and have her sign it, and then I could just resell that book your sister got me. I won't be doing that. This book is very pretty. It's very pretty. I was doing this because it's shiny. This book is beastly and it is heavy. This book. Girl, how big are you? This book is 600 pages, 604 pages. Okay. So I know I've had most of this spoiled. I've watched a lot of reviews. I have since purged that information from my brain because all I can focus on is that there is someone named Kel. Kel is an orphan stolen from the life he knew to become Swordcatcher, the body double of a royal heir. And I had just read A Darker Shade of Magic, where it is Kel, who is an orphan, who is part of the royal court. And I was like, huh. So, honestly, I was just stuck on that. So everything else has gone out of my brain. I know that somebody said, I don't remember who it was because, like I said, I watched a lot of reviews of this. It might have been Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany that said that the way that Cassie Clare decided to say that this was adult was by being like, we're in a brothel, we're in a brothel, we're in a brothel. So somebody said that and I don't remember who. All right, we'll give this one a go. One of the things I said I was hoping to use Jade City for is I am doing a few challenges on Storygraph. One of the challenges that I am doing is to read a 500 plus page fantasy book every month. So I was hoping to use Jade City, but this is an option. This is an option. That one's only 4. So these are my 2 options. So if I finish either one of these, I can put them on that 500 page fantasy challenge. Also I'm doing I believe it's called Reading Queerly 2024 challenge. I believe the only one that is going to actually qualify for that, because it's a book you finish, is going to be Organ Meats, but I'm not sure if Organ Meats actually is, or if it just sounds like it is. Well, actually, because this has non-binary intersex rep, this will actually work for that as well. So, a little bit of diversity, which I'm always looking for. Some of my favorite books these last couple years have been by queer authors or BIPOC authors, just having differences in stories compared to what I'm used to reading from, which is from Stephen King, a straight white boomer man. So I'm having fun with that. Anyway, this is my February TBR. I'm gonna make a graphic on Canva and put it up here. I don't know how many I'm going to get through. I did manage to read 23 books this month. Spoiler for my stats that's coming, which was like 3,500 pages and 97 hours of audio. So this is more than 3,500 pages right here, though, because I have some big books. Okay. Anyway, I'm terrified and excited, and now I gotta put all these books away. So I will see you soon with some stats. Thanks for hanging out, and if you are looking forward to this, please give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see reviews for these. I will be doing vlogs and reviews and just generally keeping you up to date. This is going to be my last big month of reading for a little while. My fieldwork season starts in March, and then we're going to mostly be audiobooks and probably shorter. I'll probably hit a lot of manga and I really want to get some sci-fi in March, but March is going to be smaller just because I'm going to be doing 12-hour days of work. So that's a future problem. I'll see you soon.